Welcome back to the podcast. We are going through how to develop a high performance and fulfilling mindset. I'm going to go through the 3 big steps you need to do to actually create that. And I'm going to give you tactical answers today. So this won't just motivate you and make you feel good about yourself. I'll actually give you practical answers of what you can do from this podcast to go start to improve your mindset for your business, for your relationship, for your money, for your health, for everything. Because a rising tide raises all boats. Your mindset is what allows you to unlock more of who you are in your relationship, your business, and absolutely everything. So stick around to the end. There will be an extra 4th one at the end as well. I was going to say that to the end, but I'm going to tell you now there will be a 4th bonus step for you as well. So with that being said, why is mindset so important? You've probably heard the 80-20 rule before. It's very common in self-development. It's the Pareto's law. It pretty much says 80% of your results becomes from 20% of your inputs. So 20% of what you do gives you 80% of what you get at the back end of it. Now, what I'm using that rule for in this circumstance is actually the flip. It's where it states success in anything in life is 80% mindset and 20% skill set. But what most people do is they do the opposite. They go so hard on the skill sets. And you need the skill sets. You need that. But it's only one piece of the puzzle. And it's a smaller piece of the puzzle. And most people get obsessed with it. Why? Because it's easier. It's more analytical. It's not as shallow. There's less emotions involved. But the real unlock for you in your business, in your relationships, in your personal life, in everything in life is when you really master your mindset. And that's something I'm super passionate about. It's what I help people do. And there's 3 steps, like I said, I want to go into with you today. So the quote I want to start with is you don't see things the way they are. You see things the way you are. I'll say that again. You don't see things the way they are. You see things the way you are. Have you met anyone who's just always negative? That if it's a beautiful sunny day, it's too hot. It's too beautiful. If it's raining, it's a miserable, cold, miserable day. And then you got some people where it's a sunny day, they're so grateful, they're so abundant, they're so happy. And if it's cloudy and rainy, they're still happy and grateful for such beautiful rain that we have. Because they're seeing things the way they are. They're not seeing things for the things that they are. They're seeing things the way they are. Because your beliefs, your unhealed trauma, your wounds are the filters of which you see life through. If you're a happy person, because you've worked on yourself, you know who you are, you've worked on your wounds, then that's the lens you're going to see life through. If you're a hurt, wounded, negative person, that's what you're going to see life through. And that's why, again, it's so important to actually address these things. So what I want to start with, the first step of how do you actually improve your mindset? How do you be happier? How do you be more dialed in? How do you be more fulfilled? How do you be sharper? How do you be more confident? How do you be more of who you truly are? Step number 1, I call it self-mastery. And it's actually, I'm going to dig into that a little bit more for you, but it's knowing who you truly authentically are. Not wearing the mask, the persona, trying to be someone that you think you have to be, you got to be, you should be, you must be because of your upbringing. Whether it's mom or dad, whether it's religion, whether it's society, whether it's social media, it's like you're being someone that you're not. And there's a beautiful line. You'll never feel whole and confident being number 2 of someone else. I'll say that again. You'll never be whole and confident trying to be number 2 of someone else. You are your best self when you're being your true version of you. So, what does that look like? I do that. I break that into 3 pieces. I go through values, I go through purpose, and I go through mission and vision. It's knowing your true values. And I mentioned values in 90% of my podcast, but if you haven't done my free values determination process, it's on episode 200 of this podcast. So once you finish this episode, go watch episode 200. It's a free training. Don't have to opt in. It's literally public. Go do it. And you'll learn what values truly are. Because your values are the areas of life that are intrinsically most meaningful to you. And some people think freedom, honesty, loyalty, integrity are values. Those aren't values. Those are character traits and emotions. Okay, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole because I do that on other podcasts. So, know your values. There's a line that I use when I teach values. Low self-worth is feedback that you're not prioritizing yourself and not prioritizing your own values. Just do a rough little game with me right now. Picture right now what areas of life light you up the most. It might be family, it might be relationship, it might be your health, it might be your business, it might be your career, it might be nature, it might be music, it might be travel. Just think of like the areas that mean the most to you. It might be your kids, your parenting. Now, picture all of those areas were turned into shit, or you weren't able to prioritize them. And instead of prioritizing them, you prioritize someone else's needs and values. Your parents saying you should do this, you have to do this, you got to do this, you must do this, blah, 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 blah. Pretend you actually listen to them and you go do that. And you essentially subordinate yourself to someone else's needs and wants and values. How would you feel? You'd feel pretty shit, wouldn't you? You'd beat yourself up. Your confidence would go down. Your self-worth would go down because you're not prioritizing who the fuck you are. So know who you truly are. Is self-mastery is the first step. And I do that through values. I'm not going to give you a pitch on all of them because it would be for too long, but values, areas of life that light you up the most. Go to my podcast, episode 200, free training for you. You are welcome. Number 2, purpose. Know your purpose. Your purpose is an expression of your biggest core wound. How do you determine that? I teach that. You can come work with me if you want to learn that, but it's whatever was most it was the biggest core wound, what was most painful for you, or the biggest void for you in your upbringing. Once you've healed that to a degree where you can express it, because I'll go into healing soon, but when it comes to healing, your core wound is never fully healed, but you want to heal it to a point where it becomes fuel, not fear. You want to heal it to a point where it becomes fuel, not fear. My biggest core wound is being hurt from my dad. That was my biggest core wound. And expressing that is healing. Can you see what I do for a job? I help people heal because it's an expression of my core wound. Now, do I still feel like I hurt myself and I hurt others? Absolutely, because it's never fully healed, but it's healed to a degree now where I can express it as and use it as fuel and not be crippled by it and use it as fear. So values, number 1. Number 2 is purpose. What lights you up the most? What's your direction? What's your fuel for you to get to where it is that you want to get to? Which ties into the third step, which is your mission and vision. It's having clarity on what you want your life to look like. What does a life look like on your terms? A life that lights you up. It's the light at the end of the tunnel. Because any human being can handle a lot more than most people think. But you can put up with a terrible today because of a hopeful tomorrow. So you can go through whatever suffering you're going through, whether it's with your business, your relationship, your health, whatever it is. If you know there's a light at the end of the tunnel, it gives you hope. And I've been through periods where I've been suicidal, I've been depressed, I didn't like, life sucked. Life fucking sucked. But getting clear on who I was, who I am, my vision, my purpose, my values, and like I just mentioned, vision, knowing, okay, this is where I'm going to. So I can I can push through this bullshit, this pain and whatever's coming up, because it's going to lead me towards where I want to go. So that's the first big step. I'm breaking them down for you, obviously. First big step, self-mastery. Work on yourself. Know who you truly, authentically are without the mask, the personas, the have to, the ought to, the got to, the shoulds, whatever projections people have put on you of who you have to be, got to be, should be, must be. A good question, it's a little side tip for you. Whenever someone uses the words have to, ought to, got to, should, must, or a version of that, someone is projecting their values onto someone else. Think about that. And then what I do off the back end of it, ask yourself this question. According to who? You should go to the gym more. You should work on your business more. You should travel the world more. You should do this. You should do this. You should do this. You got to do this. You must do this. According to who? According to someone who has a high value on the thing that they're talking about. I'm a coach. My highest value is coaching. If I told you right now listening to this, you should become a coach. You should start coaching people. You should become an online coach. You should build a coaching business. That's me projecting my values of coaching. I have my second highest value is learning. So I love learning. I do a lot of learning. I love self-development, events and all that stuff. If I said you should go to seminars, you should read books, you should listen to my awesome podcast, which you are right now. Should. I'm projecting my value of learning onto you. Where you don't have to do jack shit. You do whatever the fuck you want. Now, don't take that as never listen to people's advice and opinion and feedback. I'm not saying that. Just be aware when someone's projecting their values onto you, right? Then you take that in and say, okay, well, based on my vision, is their feedback going to help me move towards that, away from it? Fantastic. That's how I use that. That's an off topic though. Anyways, that's the first step. First step, self-mastery, know who you truly authentically are. Second step, this is my favorite one. Inner work. Work through your shit. I mentioned at the start of this video that you don't see things the way they are, you see things the way you are. Your beliefs and your wounds. Those are the two biggest pillars that I would be working on. If I had a third one, it'd also be your emotional home, where you live emotionally, and I'll get into that. But do the inner work Because your beliefs, literally your mindset, let's even just go big picture. Your mindset, I call that the ego. Your ego is the identity of who you view yourself to be. If you believe that you're not enough, you're not lovable, that money is evil, that success isn't, you're not worthy of success, or whatever beliefs you've got, you make that true. The ego has two main traits. Number one, it's going to make itself right, even if it's limiting. If you've heard the term, if you fight for your limitations, you get to keep them, that's what it means. If you believe you're not enough, you will make that true by self-sabotaging your goals, by not taking any action at all, or even achieving, but always comparing and moving the goalpost. That's what overachievers do. That used to be me. I still have that in me. I still have that trait in me, but I was really bad with that a while ago, where it's like achieve, because overcompensating, because I thought deep down that I wasn't enough, because I didn't know my values, I didn't know my purpose, I hadn't done the inner work. So I was just like achieve to get validation. Mainly from dad. That was my main person I was doing it for. On social media, I used to have on my Instagram profile, my bio, 3 times gym owner at 22, just to stroke my ego and show you how good I was, right? But I was insecure as fuck. So I was just overcompensating for my wounds, my limitations, my inadequacy, feeling like a fraud, feeling like I wasn't worthy, feeling like I wasn't enough. So if you want to have a better mindset and take action out of inspiration, not desperation, address your unhealed stuff. Because your unhealed shit shows up everywhere. In your business, in your relationships, especially your relationships. I say this a lot. Your relationship is a magnifying glass for your unhealed wounds. That's why your partner triggers you. That's why you guys have disagreements. That's why your wounds come to the surface. Because they just see more sides to you than anyone else. Everyone watching this podcast, including yourself, unless you're my wife watching this, which I don't think she watches my podcast, but my beautiful wife, if you're watching this, if you're not my wife, you do not see me to the depths that she does. Now, I try to be authentic. I talk authentically. I share my wounds. I share my things I've been through. I've shared tears, and I've shown that on social media. But you guys don't see the full depths of me, right? When I haven't slept properly, when we've had financial pressure, when I'm doubting myself, when I'm sick, when I'm throwing up in the toilet, when I'm whatever. Like, you guys don't see all of those sides to me. My partner does. So just by being in proximity, she's going to shine light on my wounds, my insecurities, my inadequacies, which then triggers them, which brings them to the surface, and then you've got awareness to go heal through it. That was a lot. Probably rewind that and listen to that again, because I got this beautiful line that I love, that you can't be held accountable to something you're not aware of. And this is where your unhealed wounds, your limiting beliefs, your triggers, your traumas, and all that stuff, they are the silent puppet master that is controlling your unconscious thoughts, feelings, and therefore behaviors. And you can't see the forest through the trees. It's like everyone literally, it's cliche, everyone's doing the best what they have. I get that. And that's very cliche. That's why I like to go a little bit deeper. Or if you can't be held accountable to something you're not aware of. If you're not aware that you've got a limiting belief that you're not enough, that you're not worthy, that you're just overcompensating from mummy and daddy wounds, which I was, and most people are, then you're literally doing the best of what you have. And that's cool. So that's why blessing yourself with awareness by listening to this podcast, consuming positive content, working with coaches and all that stuff brings a level of awareness to you and consciousness. So then you can actually address it. So a bit of a ramble, a bit of a tangent there, but what I suggest for step 2, do inner work. There's 3 big pieces of inner work that I work with mainly, but there's a lot more. But there's limiting beliefs. So those are the beliefs that you have. And obviously the ones that are limiting you, identify those, dissolve those, rewrite those. Number 2 is your wounds. So those are traumas where it was too much, too soon, too frequently, or your needs weren't met. So there's formulas for trauma and everyone has a bit of a different opinion on it, but it's when it was just too much for you to handle. And as in too much as in it wasn't met at all, like you weren't safe, you didn't feel held, you didn't feel loved, you didn't feel seen, heard, or it was abuse, it was pain, it was pressure, it was whatever. It can be go both ways. It's when your needs weren't met, either too much or not enough. It was just an inadequate amount, too much or too little. So there's wounds. And then the third part I mentioned earlier in this podcast was where you live emotionally. For anyone that does any Joe Dispenza stuff, Joe Dispenza has studied his stuff. He talks about thoughts are the language of the mind, emotions are the language of the body. So the first 2, which is limiting beliefs and traumas, they're very head stuff. But then you've got your emotional home, which is your body. And by the age of 35, 95% of what we do is on autopilot, where you're literally copy and pasting the same thoughts, same feelings, same actions as the day before. So you're literally copy and pasting your days. So you're in the loop. And you're not aware of it. So this is where training yourself to change your emotional home. How do you do that? You do that through exercise. You do that being around the right people, and you do it through meditation as well. Meditation, I teach that, and I have meditations for my clients. So those would be the three like big pieces of inner work that I would lean into. There's a lot more than that. You can go down the somatics, you can go down the breath work, you can go down plant medicine, you can go down so many other versions of inner work, but those are like the three like big pieces of like things to address would be those three. The third step, so summarize this quickly. Number 1, self-mastery. Number 2, inner work. Number 3 is skills and strategies. If you want to have a positive mindset, practice the thing you want to be fucking better at. Like I've had some people ask me, how are you good at talking on camera? Because I've done fucking thousands of videos. I think episode, it'll be like 293, 292 or something like that of this podcast. Like I've done almost 300 episodes, a lot of them solo, some of them with guests. It's like I've done a lot of reps. I've done a lot of, like, if you follow me on my social medias, I do a ton of videos. So I'm quite confident at articulating and speaking to camera because I've fucking done it so many times. So there is the like sort of more analytical, practical, do the fucking work. So if you want to improve your mindset, be more confident, believe in yourself more, do the thing you want to get better at. It's like practice makes perfect. It's cliche, but perfect practice makes perfect. So yes, address your unconscious stuff, which is important. Remember at the start of this, I said 80% mindset. This is the 20%. Tactics. So 80%, know your values, know your purpose, know your vision, mission and vision, sorry. Then address your unhealed stuff, your triggers, your wounds, your limitations, your limiting beliefs, all that stuff. But then the 20%, still work on the skills. Practice the skills. Learn how to, depending on what you want to learn on, learn how to set boundaries, learn how to communicate, learn how to market, learn how to sell, learn how to build systems. Like, learn the things that you want to practice and be better at, be more confident with, and then fucking do them. Like, do them. Just practice the thing, right? So that's the third step, and that's very broad, so I won't go down skills and strategies too much. Now, I said I got a bonus one for you. The bonus one for me of how to improve your mindset, be more positive, be a higher performer, be more fulfilled, is change your environment. The fastest way to change your life, change your behavior, your results is to change your environment. You become who you hang with. And you've heard that a million times before. You become who you hang with. So get around the right community. I paid tens of thousands. I've paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to get in the right rooms, to get around the right people. People who challenge me. People that call me out of my bullshit in a healthy way. People that care about me. And they care about me so much that they're willing to call me out on my own bullshit. I'll share a quick story. So I went to a mastermind. This was my first mastermind I ever went to. It was $44,000 a year. And this is when I was 22 years old. No, 21 years old. Yeah, 21 years old. No, I lied. 22. It was 22 years old. 22 years old. I joined this mastermind. We did not have enough money to join it, but we did it anyways because we we need to figure this out. Anyways, I'm in a mastermind. If you're not familiar with the mastermind, it's pretty much a table of people. And I'm 22 years old. I'm the youngest by 20, 30 years. There's people in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and some of them are making hundreds or tens of millions, some of them over $100 million in revenue in their business. And I'm this 22-year-old kid with one gym. I owned one gym at that time. So I was 21 turning 22. So I had one gym. I'm 21 years old on this table of fucking multi-millionaires and all these successful people. And I'm in there and I'm like, okay, then how the mastermind works, you go around the table one at a time and you say, hey, my name is whatever. This is my business. This is what I do. And here's the problems I want some help with. Can you help me? And then essentially a mastermind, they just throw questions at you. They give you perspectives. They challenge your thoughts and they help you grow essentially. So I'm waiting for my turn. I've got my notes ready. I'm like, okay, it's finally up to me and it's my turn. I kick it off. I say, hey guys, my name's Lewis. I run a gym. We do a couple $100,000 in revenue. Our biggest problem is sales and marketing. I'm very cliche entrepreneur. Sales and marketing, sales and marketing, sales and marketing. And I remember I'm ready for the secret sauce, the tactics, the skills of how to improve. And the first question I got, the leader on the table, she looked at me dead in the fucking eye. I remember this so clearly. And she asked me word for word, what's your relationship like with your dad? And I was like, oh, and it was like a stab to the heart. I was like, fuck. And I was like, it's all right. It's not, yeah. It's and I mumbled my words, but it's because back then I had done very little inner work. I was very skills, strategies, tactics, action, take action. I was very hyped up and ready to take action, but I wasn't really addressing the unhealed stuff. And that was one of the big wake up calls. And then one of my to-do lists was to start doing inner work, NLP. I read the book, The Way of the Superior Man. You can actually see it behind me if you look closely on my bookshelf. And yeah, that like opened me up to, well, I was aware of it, but it started to open me up more and more to like, wow, I can get so obsessed with these skills, or I can actually address the shit that I'm not addressing, which is my wounds, my insecurities, my fears, my whatever, because then that allows me to access more of who I am to then allow me to follow through with the actions, the skills, the business, the relationships, and all that stuff. So that's just a little story for you. But the fourth step, the bonus step I said, was get around communities where they call you out, they challenge you, they help you, they support you, and they love you, and they give you the guidance because you're doing the best with what you have. You can't be held accountable to something you're not aware of. So get around communities, coaches, mentors, whatever, that are helping you to grow, to expand your awareness, to become a better human being. So I'll summarize these points for you. If you want to have a higher performing mindset and a fulfilled mindset as well, so you can achieve more and be happier at the same time. 4 steps. Number 1, self-mastery. Know your true values, your purpose, your mission, your vision authentically, not the have to, ought to, got to, shoulds. Be your true authentic self. Number 2 is address your unhealed stuff. Do the inner work, your limiting beliefs, your triggers and traumas, and your energetic, emotional blocks that are blocking you. And then 3rd step is practice and get good at the skills and strategies. I'm not saying to ignore it completely because you need both, but it's 80-20, 80% mindset, 20% skill set. And then the 4th bonus one is to get around a community. Get around where it's better. Get around people who are going to challenge you and support you to become the person you know you're destined to be. That's my video for you. I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. If you got value, please leave a like, leave a comment. Would love to get some support around this. Send it to a friend that you think get value from it. If you're wanting to work with me, I help people do pretty much everything I just told you guys is what I help people do. Self-mastery, inner work, and skills and strategies. And I have a community as well. If you're interested in working with me, there is links down below to join the community. I do one-on-one coaching if that is something of interest as well. I appreciate your time. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you on the next podcast. See ya.